Um, Thank you for being here. Uh, my name is Blake Cohn. I am the Executive Director of NNSP, the National Network of Schools in Partnership. I recognize most faces here, but for new faces, thank you so much for joining us to talk about what are our plans for this summer. I am going to ask that I'm going to mute everybody and ask that if you have questions that we can put it up in the chat box and or raise your hand. I am really excited to have two people here today to speak to what the plans for the summer are. I've asked Laura Day from Hockaday School in Texas to share how they're repurposing what they're doing in the summer to engage their students and to create some sort of continuity of programming. And then I've also asked, and I don't see him here yet, Jose from Horizons National, which is a conglomerate of summer programming hosted at independent schools for and higher ed institutions for students over the summer. And when he gets here, he will share with us. So I'm recording this for anybody who is not able to stay for the whole time. In the format that we normally use is we will hear our ideas from our two contributors today, and then we will break out into breakout rooms we're going to just do two breakout rooms today, and we'll have Laura in one and Jose in another to ask questions. If for some reason you feel like you want to be with the other person, if you have more questions for one or the other, pop yourself back out into the main room and I can redirect you to the right room. I have control to put you in the right room. And I am going to share with all of you what NNSP is doing this summer. And we have created, for the first time ever, student programming. And so we have, in partnership with Close Up Foundation, which is in DC here, they're used to doing in-person trips to Washington, D.C. to talk about engagement and civics and activism. And with Hockaday and their Institute for Social Impact and NNSP, we've created two summer options for students. I would be most grateful if you would share this with your families and your students. One is a 3-day intro to community engagement, and the other one is a more intense 8-day experience of we're calling it the Task Force for Community Engagement. The link in the chat is for a one-page that has more information. It also has a link there for the registration, which Laura just shared. And here it is, sorry. And anyway, I would love for you to share that. This is the first time we're running a pilot right now with 75 students from NNSP member schools, and it is going really well. And I was sharing at the beginning with the folks who are here when I logged on how it's just everything to see at 4:30 in the afternoon on a Wednesday, 70 kids getting together to talk about ways in which they can learn from one another and create ways to make change happen while they're stuck at their houses and in social isolation, but they're really trying to connect with each other across the country to create solutions. So that's what we're trying to, the energy we're trying to take and create some programs for kids across the country. So that is my plug. I would love it if you could share it. And if you have any questions, please feel to reach out to me or to Laura, or there's an email on the page that is that goes to Close Up, so you could reach all of us. Okay, here we are. Laura, thank you so much for being here and sharing with us all the ways that Hockaday is reshaping their summer programming. So
great. Hello, everyone. So I'm Laura Day. I'm at Hockaday. I run our Institute for Social Impact, which is pre-K to 12th grade. And we, like many of you, probably have a lot of options that we give our kids for the summer of work they can do and things they can be involved in. And as you might imagine, a lot of that has come to a complete stop, including our own Summer camp, where we run a bunch of things. That's been pretty much canceled until July, but probably July will be canceled too. So like you all, maybe I get a lot of emails from parents and also a lot of emails from students. What can I do this summer? What do I do this summer? And what I've done, and just because my brain works this way, is just made a list of things that I'm going to share with you, because I think tangible, actual things are what helps me and has always helped me in what I do. So I'm going to do the same. And I've stolen one idea from Annie. So Annie's getting a huge shout out. Not really stolen. I'm just going to, it's a great idea. Annie, you're a genius. Good work. All right. So I'm going to go through, and here we go. So one of the first things we're going to do this summer, and I had mentioned this before, is the program Book Nook, which is that online tutoring program. We're going to run that through the summer. So if you want to look into that or have questions for me about that, we're partnering with a bunch of elementary schools and working right now to get their principals, to get the students to sign up for that. And so we're going to have tutoring opportunities throughout the entire summer, because as you know, many schools, including your own, are worried about how behind students are going to be. And so we're going to be very targeted in that program to make sure we're getting to those students. The other program we're going to be running throughout the summer, which continues to be something that's of need, is the mask making. We have a group who's taken that on. There are juniors and seniors at our school, and they have created a system where we have kids cutting fabric. We have a porch that the fabric goes to. We have people who are making the mask, and a porch that it all gets dropped off. It's like a system we've created. And then from there, people are getting those and delivering them to whoever reaches out to us. Another idea that we're doing that maybe is of interest to you, I don't know, we wear uniforms at our school, and we have a plaid skirt that students wear. We are turning old plaid skirts into masks over the summer and selling them to our families and alums, and using that money to go back in and pay local area refugee organizations that are making masks for hospitals. So it's kind of a creative way, because everyone wants to buy a mask. So we're just using our plaid skirt to make masks, to make money, to use that to support the people on the front lines. We're going to run a Zoom-based camp for DISD campers teaching kind of enrichment things. We have students from our robotics team running robotics on Zoom. We have a STEM version, and then we have some sports clinics that we're going to try to run. Who knows how they're going to go, but we're going to try it. We're going to keep going with the YouTube videos. We're going to be helping serve food during the summer as well, and so is the DISD program, the Dallas Independent School District. And we have been using those, and I keep saying this to you, as our drop-off spots. So we have students who are going to be making art kits, getting board games, putting together book list and kits. And those are going to go out at the meal sites throughout the summer and are going to be supported by our YouTube channel. Just another way to try to get where the people already are and have that going out, which has been really helpful for us. We have a virtual tutoring program happening in other parts of our city that's actually on a telephone, which I know is interesting. But what we're finding in some parts of our city is there isn't internet access, which I know all of you are aware of in your cities as well. So we have a telephone number that students are calling in, and the students that we're working with and our students are calling in, and they're actually working together on the phone to help them do work and all different kinds of things. These are places we have relationships with, so it's not as weird to have a phone conversation that they're having. I have a lot of students who do internships in the summer, and you probably have the same. What I'm doing now is reaching out to all the nonprofits that I think I'm not going to burden them by asking them this question, or people that I know, and I'm texting them, and I'm asking, do you want an intern to help in development or in social media outreach? Both can be done from afar. Most of your students, I imagine, that are juniors and seniors are great writers, and they need help to raise money, and they need help to raise awareness. And so I think you can repurpose your students to go that route as an internship and get an internship with a nonprofit working in those two areas, which I'm going to push a lot of our students to help there. We're running a camp for Dallas students that I'm going to run called an Opportunity Gap Camp. It's going to be on Zoom, and I'm going to run around Dallas with a phone, and I'm going to talk through all the issues facing Dallas, and we're going to work through those. So that way those kids are at a different point when they hit the ground running during the school year. And I'm going to run that 3 days, an hour and a half each, as just a way to keep the students learning. Also, oh, the other thing that's really cool is right now, all of your school board and city council meetings are on Zoom, most of them. And ours are in Dallas, so I would say a lot of places are. We're having students get together, and I'm working with groups of students, and they're actually getting on the agenda of those meetings. So it's an easier way, because I think it's intimidating. We used to have kids go to the actual meetings, but now what's an interesting thing is you can get on the agendas and the kids just have to go to the Zoom link, and then they can speak about what they've been learning about, or speak about what the issues are that are affecting not the city or the school board. And we have kids speaking in 2 weeks around a bond that we have coming up. And that is just a really interesting way to get them mobilized during the summer around things that they have a little more access to via Zoom. I also have a social media platform at Hockaday Impact, if you want to follow it. I'm going to put ideas throughout the summer when they come to me. So I've told all the students, follow me on social media, because I want it in real time. I want to be able to say, hey, tomorrow, here's where the need is, or here's what's going on. And so I'm going to use my social media during the summer to be a place that they can get ideas and go to understand things. Annie, here's where I steal from you. We are making summer bingo cards for our lower and middle school families, and are going to send those out as a summer, kind of like you'd send home summer reading. We're going to do the bingo cards like you did with the activities to give back. And we're going to send those home with the summer materials that we're sending to the lower and middle school. So thank you, Annie, very much for that idea. The other thing we have students working on is getting internet and devices like laptops, iPads. They're working to see if they can get in touch with AT&T, organizations that are doing this, and they're kind of bridging the gap to get those devices into the homes of the community groups we work with and the public school kids that we work with. So that way, all of our kids are harnessing their energy and having to do leadership opportunities to get that stuff and try to get it to the kids that need it. It's a great lesson for them to learn. And then the last thing is I'm gonna run a couple programs for middle school students where they're gonna sign up for different issue areas. So like stray animals, environment, and that kind of thing. The stray animal one is the one I have the most fleshed out, where they're going to sign up to learn about that. We have someone inside of the animal shelter in Dallas who's going to give them a tour, talk about what's going on with animals, and then we're going to send to their home a doghouse kit that we will make together on Zoom. So they'll be making the doghouse kit. We'll be learning about the stray animal issue at a couple of different local shelters. And then they will put the doghouse, they can either have the option of delivering it, or they can put it on their porch. And then I'm going to get the high school kids to swing by and deliver those to shelters. Just a way to keep them active. So that's a lot, I know, but if I'm like any of you, I love when people just throw a whole bunch of things and like maybe one stuck for some of you, but I wanted to give you kind of, oh, I can explain the opportunity to get better. I saw the question. I wanted to give you guys a whole bunch of ideas. So the Opportunity Gap Camp I've run for 3 years. We bring public and private high school students together. And normally it's kind of like the magic school bus. We get on a bus and we go around and learn from we have a theme each day where they learn about what's happening with hunger in our city, what's happening with healthcare in our city. And that way those students are the ones who are now eventually in a couple of years who are now speaking at those school board meetings because they've been through that program. And we do it normally with sophomores in high school. So this year, obviously we can't really do that physically. And so I had to repurpose that and make it a Zoom where we're still doing Magic School Bus. It's just going to be me with a phone kind of running around and showing them what's going on and then having them have conversations about inequities that happen in our city. And that's what that opportunity gap is. So hopefully that's helpful for who asked that question. Okay, I know I talked a lot. It's so annoying on Zoom when people talk incessantly, but I wanted to make sure I unloaded as much of that as possible to you all. So any questions or thoughts or anything?
Linda's sharing that Noble students are doing friendly phone calls and Zooms with senior citizens, which is great. Any other questions? We're going to have to practice our growth mindset and flexibility and all that good stuff because Jose is not here. And so I've asked Guybe on, he has a Horizons program at his school to be super agreeable. This is one of the downsides of being on my board is that I can ask him things like this in the chat and he is going to do it. So Guybe, thank you so much for sharing us and so thank you for stepping up and sharing. And I apologize to everybody for the shift in the agenda, but we're just going to go with it. We're going to make the best of it. Thank you.
Okay, good morning, everyone, and greetings from Oakland, California. I am, in addition to being on the board of NNSP and get to work with and learn from Blake, I also helped launch and am on the board of Horizons at San Francisco Friends School. I'm an administrator at the school, and my title is the Director of Community Engagement. So for those that are unaware of Horizons, I put our website in the chat there. And we are part of a national network of independent schools and universities that it was started around 50 years ago on the campus of New Canaan Country Day School in New Canaan, Connecticut. And basically their head of school at the time was looking at this beautiful, bucolic country day school in lovely New Canaan, Connecticut over the summer. And just down the road in New Haven, Connecticut, he knew that there were public school students that were really suffering and were being impacted by what's been called the summer slide, where during the school year, any progress that is made, particularly for low-income students, really because of the absence of any high-quality learning over the summer, just slides, and these students just fall further and further behind. And that has been shown to be one of the biggest contributing factors to the achievement gap. And I really appreciate how Laura will use the opportunity gap, because really that's what this is. These are students who are just as smart, just as strong, just as promising, just as deserving as any of our privileged students in the independent school world. They're just not given that opportunity. And so really Horizons is started, again, 50 years ago when that head of school at New Canaan Country Day said, you know what, we've got these resources, we've got this amazing facility, we've got this campus as well as educators, we're going to provide summer learning for these students. And that was the first Horizons program. And since then, it has grown to a national network of independent schools and universities. And we are individual in that we each have our own executive director at our affiliate sites. We have our own board of trustees for the Horizons programs, but we are housed at independent schools as well as universities and higher ed institutions. And so it really is a public-private partnership because even though it's housed at independent schools, it doesn't serve independent school students. All of the students have to qualify for free and reduced lunch. And 2/3 of the students are below grade level and the remaining third are at grade level. And it's a cohort model. So the students enter the summer after their kindergarten year and they come back summer after summer. And our program started about 6 years ago, and we've added a grade every year. This summer we will be kindergarten through 6th grade, going all the way up to 8th grade. There are affiliates though that serve students through high school and even doing college access programming now. Because it's headquartered kind of in Connecticut, most of the affiliates are scattered up and down the East Coast and the Midwest. We at San Francisco Friends School were the kind of pioneering program on the West Coast and sadly are still the only Horizons program on the West Coast. So if there's any West Coast schools out here, happy to talk with you about joining the network. And we would love to see really more of these programs. Obviously the need is so great, but the opportunity with such strong independent schools that are up and down the West Coast is really promising. the last thing I'll say is, before I talk about kind of how we're pivoting and shifting our program is, when I was doing the research around summer programming and opportunities to support low-income public school students, there's a lot of great programs out there, and Horizons are really just one model. Maybe you've heard of programs like the SMART program or Breakthrough Collaborative, Aim High. There's a ton of amazing summer programs that are serving this demographic, this population. The reason why we chose to go with Horizons is because of this collective impact model. And we've seen that the growth of it over the last probably 10 years has been really impactful, is particularly in cities like Atlanta and DC, Metro DC area, in the kind of greater New York area. And multiple Horizons have sprung up in those locations. So I believe Atlanta is upwards of 10 Horizon sites. Metro DC, Baltimore, Northern Virginia is upwards in that area, New York as well. And so now you're not just saying that you can serve your 150 Horizon students at your independent school. Across the city of Atlanta, collective impact, 10 different Horizon sites. Now we're talking about real impact. We're talking about scaling and leveraging the collective resources of all of these independent schools. And so now you're attracting more donors just because you're able to show the impact of this model. That was what was really compelling for us, because when we looked at the landscape of San Francisco and the Bay Area, again, some really phenomenal summer programs, but with the focus on academic achievement, and really trying to bridge that gap between summers and summer slides, the real opportunity out here for something like that to grow. So that said, how do you host a summer program for public school students when you can't host the students on your campus? Like many schools, we have suspended our kind of physical classes at our school at San Francisco Friends School, and have been doing distance learning. And we have then also applied that to our summer programming. So what has happened traditionally is that the students would come. We work with 3 partner public schools in our mission district of San Francisco, and they're with us for 6 weeks in the summer. And because they qualify for free and reduced lunch, they are getting meals for themselves too. Lunch from City of San Francisco, but we've also worked with local markets, Whole Foods and other grocery stores to provide breakfast as well. And so that's one big thing that, beyond just the academics, we have to get food to our students. How do we still deliver these meals to the students and their families over the summer? So again, we're working with the City of San Francisco on meal distribution centers and sites, but also how might we be able to get breakfast to them, because free and reduced lunch program doesn't apply to breakfast. So that's another component that we're looking for. We have been compiling this kind of science kits boxes that we will actually be delivering to families. We have literature boxes that we will be physically getting to families. I mean, one of the biggest things, and happened in many cities, is how do we actually get hardware, computers, tablets to families, which has taken a long time here in San Francisco. So, in addition to some of the tech support, we're actually getting them physical boxes to help give them science kits, science activities, reading books, and we have a whole kind of schedule for that throughout the summer. I think that those are 2 kind of big things. The last thing I'll say is the teachers for the program that we work with are public school teachers. And so they're coming to us from San Francisco Unified, various charter schools. And so just like we had to do with our teachers during the school year to kind of get them up to speed on what distance learning is going to look like, all of the various different platforms, from Seesaw to Flipgrids to, obviously just hosting Zoom meetings and Zoom protocols, we're going to have to do some steep learning curve and training for these teachers as they embark on this, just to get everybody on the same page. With that, I will turn it over to Jose. It looks like he's joined us, and he can maybe give kind kind of a window into kind of what is the national kind of perspective, as well as he works with a variety of different affiliates around the country, and give a little sense of that. So that's a little bit of kind of what our thinking is from San Francisco.
Thanks, Guybe. It's good to see everybody. And I apologize for being late. I totally one of those double book situations and messed up my calendar, and I apologize. But I did catch most of what Guybe said. So I'm just going to give you a very simple macro picture of Horizons National. We are a nationally decentralized network. So every single one of our 37 affiliates, and which represents 62 different sites, has autonomy within the program model. So we very much are focused on what we can provide in terms of core program support. So the elements of within our program that are consistent across the network that we're trying to address include English language learning, as well as social, emotional, and mental health, and informed trauma support services for students. As kind of like the core that we want to provide to everybody virtually in a blended format, and that includes virtual programming, online, as well as traditional in-home stuff by providing some kits and guides, books, things like that, so folks can do that at home. We're closely monitoring some of the feedback that we're getting from families, where burnout, lack of access, lack of time, all those sort of things, kind of come into play. So we're trying to troubleshoot that real time. But also we're hearing that, potentially, from our faculty as well. So what can we do to help faculty, be able to be present, deal with their stuff at home, all those sort of things. We're also monitoring the wave of states that are beginning to, and districts that are beginning to announce their closures or openings of summer programs. Interestingly enough, like here in Connecticut, we have 9 Horizons programs, and the state released guidelines that on June 29th, summer programs are going to be allowed to open, but most of the host institutions where we have our programs have chosen not to be open. So, that how do we deal with that? The external impression of that, within our program, as well as what recommendations we're giving to families and all those sort of things. So working through all that is quite a challenge, but I think what we're really grateful for is how our affiliates are rallying together, working closely with their host school partners to make sure that they're delivering something that is meaningful, impactful within their means of resources, but also ensuring value add and honoring of the brand, not only the Horizons brand, but also honoring the brand that they represent through the partnerships of the schools that they work with. So there is a lot of consistency within our network in terms of what is being delivered, but there's also a lot of really great local innovation and creativity. So what Guybe was describing is, very much a San Francisco, whereas let's say Holy Innocents Episcopal School in Atlanta will look slightly different than Savannah Christian, and so on and so on. We will be sharing a lot of information through our website. So if anybody is interested, you can always reach out to either Guybe or myself, and we'll make sure that we can share some material with you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jose and Guybe, so much. Does anybody have any questions before we break out into breakout rooms? Yeah, Paz.
Reading myself. So all of the faculty in Horizons are the public school teachers, or are some of the teachers from the host school?
We actually recommend a blended faculty model. So some independent school, some public school, but it does vary, from place to place. I think, Guybe, as he described, he's mostly, if not all, public school,
Okay.
but some places are actually, more 50-50, or in some cases even primarily the host school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, actually, we have a pretty cool program out here where the lead teachers, as Jose mentioned, are public school teachers, and that really works for us because they have, many of our students are coming from bilingual immersion schools, Spanish and English. And so we want them to be able to continue on with that language proficiency, to be biliterate and bilingual. And so we pull from those schools and those public schools that have that. We also have a teacher training and a teacher kind of graduate school program called the Bay Area Teacher Training Institute that works with aspiring teachers to give them a teaching certificate. And they do internships, teaching assistant positions at independent schools during the school year. But these are all folks who are going to actually end up, most of them, in public schools. And so we actually pull from that population because in the Horizon Summer program, it gives them an opportunity to work with this population under the guidance and the tutelage of a lead public school teacher in a very controlled environment of, the classes are intentionally small, 15 to 17 kids. And again, they get that experience. So really, when you look at what they're getting from this as well, in terms of a teacher training program, they work in independent schools, they learn that pedagogy, they work with master teachers in the independent school setting. During the summer setting, they work with public school teachers, again, in that different demographic and population. And that's really worked really well for us, as well as for those aspiring public school teachers. And we're really grateful for that opportunity. And I know that that is also a similar model and kind of practice that's happening at a variety of different horizons around the country. So, when we look at this, we look at it obviously first and foremost as an opportunity to support students and families that we serve, but it's also a great opportunity for educators as well. And that's been a real benefit for the program.
Are there any other questions? We're going to go out into breakout rooms. I created a sheet. Thank you again to Guybe and to Laura and to Jose. And I like to have a little guidance when we have breakout rooms with questions. So here is the sheet. I like a good shared Google Doc. And then here are the questions that we are going to ask. Like, what are the main goals for your summer programs? What are some of the ways you can achieve those goals in this current climate? And then what are some out of the box ideas you've had or you have heard of to approach summer learning this summer? If somebody would be kind enough in each of the breakout rooms to take notes on that shared document, I do not, that way we can all just read them and share them and you get the benefits of all of the breakout rooms instead of just the one that you're in. And Guybe, Jose, and Laura, I'm going to split you up into different breakout rooms if that is okay.
That's great.
If you get bumped, it's because I'm moving you around. So anyway, I'm going to split us up into 3 breakout rooms, and then we will go from there. Thank you, everybody, for your flexibility. Okay, here we go. I really appreciate all of you. I hope for being here. I hope my group did not take notes, so I apologize. I'll go add some in if they're not there. It's okay. Next week, our conversation is really a continuation of this, in that the notion of how we engage in our community is shifting and probably will be shifting for the next 12 to 18 months. And so what can we start to think about now to make sure we're on the ground running virtually in the fall, so that we have everything so we can give our kids the most robust experience and continue to create that sense of community and our commitment to our community. And wait, Rebecca, are you asking? Yes, the bingo idea I can send to you. Okay. If anybody, it was a quick tip from a email a couple of weeks ago, and I have the bingo. I will include it in, how I send out the video of this with the ideas and things. I will include the copy of the bingo and Annie's quick tip about the bingo. Okay. And if anybody needs anything else, please just feel free to reach out. Does anybody have anything else they want to add? No? Thank you so much for being here. Happy Thursday. I can't believe it's the middle of May already. Laura, Guybe, Jose, thank you so much for sharing all your ideas. I appreciate all of you, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you all.
Thank you.